which is going to be really interesting to see what happens because a lot of people don't see these two candidates as very popular, but we'll see what happens. Once the president unifies the people, then they can perform their role in the ritual as witness to it. That is, people are watching it, and often presidents explicitly indicate the role of the people in doing that. You're here watching it. You voted for me. So, like, in a marriage, it's like, does anybody? What's the thing? If anybody has any says no, what does it say? Speak now, forever hold your peace. They don't really do that in the inaugural, but in a sense, it's like, okay, you all voted for me. This is the ritual. This is it. This is the people have spoken. Da, 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 da. The right of presidential investiture. That's sort of what we're talking about here. Some inaugurals indicate that the actual giving of the address makes the president the president. Just the very fact that I'm giving this inaugural. Other presidents have given this inaugural. Blah blah blah. Let's talk about Nixon. So the actual giving of it sort of just like when we say I do, the wedding ceremony makes people married. This makes somebody a president. Campbell and Jameson say that the inaugurals reenact the original process by which people and their leaders formed a more perfect union. So just like as marriage ceremonies, particularly religious ceremonies, are sort of reenacting certain things. Same thing here in a sense. It is a ritual. Even further, we can view the address as an extension of the oath of office, and also the process of constituting the people as a call for audience participation. Ask not what you can do. What ask not what Trump can do for you, but what you can do for Trump. Steak. So, constituting the people in some sort of way. That's one thing that needs to be done. Another thing is rehearsing national values. And so, and all of these things sort of blur into one another. But what are the values? The president sort of offers certain values, and it needs to be values that unify people, not bring people together. So all these things like freedom, blah blah blah. Also, it needs to show that there is a change but continuity. This is again all about memory in part. That we have a different leader, but it's still America. We have gone through this ritual time and time and time again. And you gotta so we are all part of the fabric of the American people or the American story. Presidents also oftentimes praise past presidents, and the past is also pointed to when it comes to issues of past national policies. We did this in the 20th century. We did this back in here. FDR said, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And I say, the only thing to stake is stake itself. It's very, very huge. Big league. Often presidents quote earlier inaugural addresses, particularly those by Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and FDR, or other people. Think Mount Rushmore, Truman. No, Truman's not on Mount Rushmore, is he? Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy. It'd be funny if we had like a Mount. A Mount Stupid Head, and put like the worst presidents ever on there. Oh, that would be funny. Okay. Additionally, often presidents refer to the past crises or problems. Yeah, I already said that. If we did it then, we can do it now. And then venerating the past not only unifies the people but guides future action. So rehearsing national values means America believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Blah 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 blah. We're America, America. It also offers the administration's philosophy. It doesn't really get into specifics, but oftentimes the president will say, "This is generally the philosophy of this administration." With foreign policy and some of the stuff, but it's bigger philosophies more than anything else. So you don't get any sort of specifics, and if the speech gives too many specifics, that's actually sort of problematic because maybe that won't bring people together. They lay out things for contemplation, not necessarily action, because this is a ceremonial speech. So whatever the president offers, it needs to be non-controversial in part. We need to do. We need to care for the middle class. We need to blah blah blah. You don't. So you don't get into detail. And if it's Trump who wins, that will be no problem for him because he doesn't know how to get into detail. That's a joke. I think I'll vote for Trump. I don't know. You know who I'm going to vote for? A rock. Because rock the vote. Rock the vote. The vote rock. Oh, enacting the presidential role. The president also sort of talks about how he or she understands the role of the presidency. The president is not a king. There are limitations to the office, but you have to look presidential. I'll let you read what this says, but oftentimes there's reverence to God, lots of God talk to illustrate the limits of humanity. And then there's this super element of the inaugural address as an epidictic speech. Remember, it is again about time. There's the temporality is more mythic. That's how rituals work. It's like, all the future, past, and present of the United States is wrapped up in this ceremony, and that's sort of important to think about. So they do some of the best ones do have a sense of timelessness. Although discourse is always contextual, sometimes there are wonderful, wonderful speeches that say something really, really interesting in light of the context, but that greatness seems to be timeless. We could say it for any sort of major thing. Again, ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country. No, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. These big sort of ideas that, wow, that's cool. That's a zinger. La, 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 la. And additionally, what can also make a great inaugural speech is following the rules of that pedantic rhetoric, but maybe doing something in a brand new way. And I don't know what that would be. We'll see if any of them do something. Either of them do something super big, or maybe there's a third party candidate. Maybe Johnson will win, even though he doesn't know the name of any leader in the world. So the big thing here is there's still gender stuff in here, and it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. But really, what Hahn is interested in is sort of taking that marriage as a metaphor and taking that lens to lots of different things, particularly the idea of a false sense of intimacy with the president, particularly in our mediated culture. The inaugural ceremony as a marriage, which is what I really focused on here. The honeymoon of George W. Bush. I'll let you read that. George H.W. Bush. We've got a example of Richard Nixon and presidential divorce. We divorced Nixon. And then he also looks at all these different uses of the marriage metaphor that I think are really, really interesting. This is what he says at the end. I would like to conclude by recommending that we purge our language of the misleading marriage metaphor. Yet I know that is not likely to happen. At least, then, I want to encourage you to realize every time you hear the marriage metaphor or see it in print, and it is an inaccurate metaphor that implies an integration of public and presidential motives that may neither exist nor in any final analysis be possible or even desirable. We ain't married to the president. So he talks about all this stuff, but he says it's also problematic, like a lot of metaphors that we use. So there you go, and there you have it. I'm out of here. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Please let me know if I can do anything for you. I would love, don't forget to thread, don't forget to tweet. I would love to get emails from you, offering me some ideas that you might have for your upcoming papers. Remember, I said on Tuesday night, both the paper and the midterm, we're only 3 weeks away. So work hard. Take care.